Yeah, this just popped. Tornado warning that we've had here across the area. Let me jump in a little tighter on this here and just get a sense. Make sure that I've got everything. Hey, Caroline, could you do a connect on that for me, please? Okay, anyway, so we're getting everything connected with the computer here, and then I'll be able to tell you a little bit better what we're dealing with. You saw the conditions out there, still really messy, even as we're getting this daylight here. We figured we were going to see that, thank you. And that's going to be the case today. So here's our tornado warning. Notice that's over into parts of Chambers County. That goes until 8 o'clock. That, and I'm going to talk about some of the differences we've seen with these flash flood warnings that were extended. If your phone just went off a little bit ago, it's for mainly most of this area here across central Houston that goes until now 11 o'clock. So let's jump in a little tighter on this tornado warning and get a better sense. So that goes until 8 o'clock. What we're seeing, let's put this in motion here just so we can get a sense of what we might be picking up. And I expected to see this. We've talked about this most of the morning, that some of these bands that are coming on through are likely going to create some little mini spins or circulations within them itself. And that's kind of what we're seeing with that one. So don't see anything that looks too much of a huge signature at this point, but we'll certainly keep a watch on it. Now, let's see if we can slide over and let's put in the velocity product. And what the velocity product basically is it tells us what are we seeing in terms of either the inbound winds, which are going towards the radar site. Radar site's right over there towards League City and Dickinson, or the outbound winds. And this is what Caroline was mentioning. Some of those stronger outbound winds have been upwards of about 60, 70 miles an hour. So I think what we're dealing with this in particular, and this is in rural parts of Chambers County, that tornado warning is probably for this area right here. Let me put a little bullseye on this. It's probably this section right there as you go just north of High Island. That's where we're likely seeing there's some sort of a spin that it's trying to create. Certainly something that I don't see anything right now. And I would assume, Caroline, this is a radar indicated. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so radar indicated. Yeah. All right. So let's go to the storm relative velocity and see if we can pick anything up there as well.
Moving north at 60.
North at 60, right. So this is another one of those where even if you happen to see this tornado warning and pick it up, by the time that you say, okay, I'm going to put a warning on this, it's already north up towards Anahuac, moving its way into Channelview at this point. So this will be one of those that now I will say, just to mention that we have had confirmation of at least damage, possibly of a tornado down towards Jamaica Beach about 1:30 this morning. Our own Bill Spencer had gotten a tip from one of his contacts down there with Galveston County Police Department, or it was a Galveston County Sheriff's Department, that said that there were a couple of structures that did have some damage. We'll let the National Weather Service send their damage team down and see if indeed that's what it was. But right now, this is what we're dealing with. This is that tornado warning. As I mentioned, that's for Chambers County. That goes until 8 o'clock this morning for about the next 8 minutes. And as Caroline said, this is moving northwest at about 60 miles an hour. So it is just racing on land. So that's why these are going to be these real fast moving tornado warnings that are out there. So let's widen this out. And I'm going to put the radar back on, and we'll use this as a part of what we're seeing. And it's part of this band. This band is one of the reasons why. You can see just how far that band goes all the way basically down across, and look at this, right offshore. So we're talking about, maybe 30, 40, 60 nautical miles, and all of that heavy rain is getting pulled up. That's what we've been dealing with in Galveston for the better half of about 3 to 4 hours now at this point. We're finally starting to see a bit of a break a little further back off to the south and west, which I'll talk more about coming up here in just a bit as we get a chance to talk to, Owen Conflenti, who we saw a second ago with a great shot. And then, of course, this is what it looks like right here at the KPRC2 studios. And this is why we're telling you, do not go out, because it is just an absolute mess out there. And that's just here across Southwest. So we have one active tornado warning. Excuse me, we have all 4 of these are active flood warnings, and those are flash flood warnings that go until basically dealing with anywhere from right around 11 a.m. I believe was the latest on that one here. So hang on a second, Caroline. Let me reset this here. I hit the wrong button. I want to go back to that radar just so we can get a better idea of what we're seeing in terms of our severe potential with that tornado warning. So these 2 tornadoes, I believe this is the 3rd one we've had, this tornado warning. All of these have been relatively quick anywhere from around 10 to 15 minutes tops if they've been moving through. And we've not had any confirmation yet. As we mentioned, that one towards Jamaica Island, or Jamaica Beach, that is down on the island earlier this morning about 1:30. That one probably will become, because that is certainly one that they were watching very carefully. So here's our active tornado warning. If we do see anything, there may be some kind of signature, some sort of spin right in the center of this. But again, there's Winnie to the north. There's Anahuac. I would expect whatever, if there is some sort of a swirl. And now that we're getting to daylight too, there may be some folks that are out there. If you've got click-to pins, you can get a chance to take a peek at those and say, hey, this is what I'm looking at. That may be the case too. So if there are any, or if you've seen, water spouts, we're getting those. Click2pins.com, great way to make sure that you can let us know what's happening. I'm going to put this in motion because I want to just get a sense of the last hour or so of what we're seeing. And so you see these bands as they slide inland. There's a potential that you could get some spin with this, and this probably will not be our last tornado warning of the morning so far. I would expect to see a few more of these as we go in towards the latter half of the morning and into the early afternoon hours as well. So most of what we'll see with this is going to continue to slide northward. So this is where you've got this band right here that's moving in towards Chambers County. That's where our active tornado warning is. We're starting to see some of these bands shift a little further east, so that now Beaumont into Port Arthur. But here's the center of the storm. It's right here across sections of southern Fort Bend County, or right around Needville and Thompson. So this is whatever's left of the eye is right here. So conditions that were probably pretty treacherous about an hour ago likely have improved. The problem is, if you look, and I'm going to widen this out, and I was just talking to one of our viewers, Heather, out in Columbus, and she said, hey, don't forget us out on the west side. We certainly will not do that. Now, I think this band right here is still going to produce some heavy rain and certainly a decent amount of some strong winds as well. Would not be shocked to see some potential wind damage out here across from Columbus down towards Eagle Lake. And then you see it on the south end of that from El Campo to Bay City. And I saw from Gage just a second ago, remember earlier in the morning, if you were watching us, that they were having trouble, that the storm surge had flooded out the truck, or didn't flood out the truck, but got close. They're seeing the same thing. But on the backside of that now, so what was all going up to the Colorado River is all pushing back down into the bay. And as we get later into the morning, I would not be shocked if we're going to deal with the same thing in Galveston, whereas all of the storm surge now is pressing up against High Island, Bolivar, and Galveston, that as we get in towards this, let's say early this afternoon, as the storm itself moves north, the back end of this is going to start to take all that water that's into the bay here and push it on the backside of the island. So that may be where we're going to be. Let's say the Strand will probably flood. I wouldn't be shocked to see that this afternoon either. And then, of course, obviously, we still have some of these tornado warnings that are popping on through. So let me put a stop on that. I know we've got a lot of stuff on the board here, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands what we're dealing with. We do have one active tornado warning. That's for Chambers County, and then that goes until 8 o'clock. So basically about the next 2 minutes. So we'll stay on this just to make sure they let that expire. I've not seen anything in the velocity that would indicate we've got any kind of strong rotation. Caroline, you get a sec over there if you want to check the CC and just see if I'm missing anything. If there's something there that we do need to kind of watch. I know that we'd seen one earlier up here across the north side, if that was the case, but I don't think we've seen anything. The bigger issue is here is that these flash flood warnings have been extended. If you notice that your phone went off, if you're across the Houston metro area and you have that emergency alert, that's why. It said just flash flood warning, and some of this is life-threatening emergency flash flood warning, as you saw that TxDOT camera a bit ago on the Katy Freeway going westbound at Houston Avenue. 3 of those lanes were flooded out, and folks were having to go all the way over to the exit lane for 45 north and southbound, and then have to shoot back where that dips, and that Houston spot dips all the time, and that's where it floods. I've seen it so many times over the years here. But of course, this is one of the flash flood warnings that we've got. We've got 2 more to the south. This one right here across parts of Brazoria County until 10 o'clock. And then, of course, the very first one we had about 4 hours ago goes until 10 o'clock as well. So all of these flash flood warnings have been extended. We figured that would be the case as we're still looking at heavy rain, including these rain bands that are now starting to pick up with some intensity, especially the one right here across Chambers County that has, excuse me, that tornado warning that goes in about the next, what do we got, 45 seconds here. So we'll see if they let that expire But of course, I'd expect these rain bands to continue to slide in across the area. So it's not even just the heavy rain potential, which is still most of the inland areas. Now what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at some of these rain bands that may be pulling in additional swirls within the general rotation of this system by itself. And that could probably kick off a few more tornado warnings. What's interesting about this is that we have not seen any severe thunderstorms warnings with these. And that's an indication that these are just very juicy. There's a lot of heavy rain that's been falling. That's why they go under flash flood warnings very quickly. But in terms of the severe weather component, this is the third tornado warning that we've had so far this morning in about 6 hours at this point since Carolina came out at 2:30 this morning. And so far we haven't seen anything confirmed to be on the ground just yet. I mentioned Jamaica Beach early this morning about 1:30. There may have been some structural damage. We'll continue to follow up with Galveston County PD as well and see if that is the case. And of course, National Weather Service will send damage teams down and take a peek at that. But right now, bigger threat, I think, over the next couple of hours, and yep, there you go. It was allowed to expire, which we figured it would, is going to be the threat for heavy rain, and that's going to continue. I'm going to put this back in motion, and then we'll jump over to Caroline here because she's got more on what's happening in terms of how much rain we've seen. And some of these rainfall totals have been very impressive. So 2 things to remember. 1, if you're getting a bit of a break, if you're in southern Fort Bend County, you are in the leftovers of the eye. You are not done with the storm just yet. All of this on the backside from Columbus to El Campo down towards parts of Bay City. This all is going to swing through, and that means you're going to get another round of likely maybe not as heavy a rain, but the wind is going to start to pick up. So any of that loose ground that's been saturated or overly saturated by these rain bands could bring down some tree limbs and even trees themselves. We're starting to pick up on some click-to pins where that's becoming more of a pervasive feature. The pins is more tree limbs down than we were getting earlier today. And of course, these rain bands you can see right there just offshore. Let me jump in on this one right here in particular. Look at these. You're starting to see some of these bands get a little more teeth to them, a few more lightning strikes as well. And that means from middle part of the island up towards right around where Owen Conflenti is over across the convention center. Things are going to get very messy, and same thing inland. So Caroline, let's head over to you. I know we've had a mess across the area. All of these flash flood warnings have been extended now to at least 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So we got at least another 3 hours, even if the rain starts to back off.
I mean, absolutely. And rainfall totals starting to stack up. Sugar Land now just shy of 9 inches of rain. Lake Jackson almost 5. Here in Houston over 3. Katy over 6 inches of rain. So no surprise, we are monitoring our channels and streams extremely close. And unfortunately, a lot of them have started to go yellow and red, which means they're exceeding their banks or they're getting close. You'll notice a tremendous amount south of Santa Fe in the Friendswood area over towards Pearland, but also on the west side of town, we are seeing more and more of these bayous starting to exceed their banks. In fact, this one, look at how fast this happened. This is Brays Bayou at Lonsdale Street. The cross section showing we're about a foot outside the banks, which means we are going to be seeing flooding. But look at this. We are steady up until about 4 hours ago, and then that water level has just spiked, and that's because we saw over 3 inches of rain. I also briefly want to talk about wind because we've been focusing a lot on where we're seeing the strongest winds. We're seeing it out in Washington County as well. We got this click-to pin, very high wind in Brenham. A tree is down in this woman's yard, and let me tell you, we see your winds. You are still seeing high winds. Wind speed across Texas. Brenham sustained winds at 19, Columbus 33. But if you look at our gusts, much higher. Brenham seeing gusts of 30. Columbus 52. You'll notice these winds really increasing. Sugar Land 56, and we're going to keep seeing those winds increase as the center of the storm works its way up to the north. In fact, look, as we get to lunchtime, Brenham's going to see 60-mile-per-hour gusts, and it's not going to be until 6 p.m. that it'll start to quiet down, and then overnight tonight, things should get much less windy.